Hey, church family, thanks for joining us for today's Daily Devotional, kicking off the week looking at being committed to his mission, to the mission that Christ has given us. And today we start in Acts chapter 2 with the very early church, the very first church. And we're really looking at leading up to that mission, leading up to what Christ had called them to do and them fulfilling what he had called them to do. And so we're going to start in Acts chapter 2, looking in verse 1. It says, when the day of Pentecost had arrived, they were all together in one place. I really think our author has asked us to look at this verse, not because of the great content that exists in this verse, but just the stage setting and everything that has come before, all the context that's come before this verse is so important. What's happened leading up to this point is Christ has been rejected, he's been crucified, and he is raised from the dead. He then went and he spent time with his disciples, and he told his disciples, hey, go to Jerusalem, stay together, and wait for the gift that the Holy Spirit is going to bring. Wait for the Holy Spirit to come. And then after he tells them that, he ascends into heaven. The disciples are standing around looking, saying, hey man, when's he coming back? Because he said he was coming right back. And an angel said, hey, go and do what he has told you, because he's going to come back, but he's not coming back right now. And so the disciples, do they leave and go off and do whatever it is they want to do? No. They go and do exactly what Christ had commanded them. They go to Jerusalem, they stay together, and they wait and they pray for the gift that the Holy Spirit is going to bring. And as they're doing that, the day of Pentecost is coming. And on Pentecost, this Jewish holiday, it happens 50 days after the Passover. On the day of Pentecost, there are going to be people from all over, Jews from all over who are going to come into Jerusalem all at the same time. People from literally all over the country are going to come to this one place, this central location. And it's going to be there that the Holy Spirit's going to move for the first time in the lives of the first believers. And that's really what we're going to beginning to get into the rest of this week. But there's some important things that we don't need to miss here. And that is that the reason why the Holy Spirit's going to be able to move in them, the reason why everything that's going to happen on the day of Pentecost that we read about, the reason why all that's going to happen, it begins with the disciples' obedience to Christ's commands. And in the same way that we are called to be on mission, sometimes we don't know what that mission is. We don't know where that mission is. We're kind of left in the dark wondering exactly what it is that Christ is calling us to go and what Christ is calling us to do. It still begins with obedience. Even if we don't know, we still should be obedient. So if Christ calls us to go to a place or do a thing, even if we don't understand it, we should do it because he's called us to do it. In the same way, he's called us to make disciples. Even if we don't know exactly what that looks like or where to go and do that, we should go and do it to be in obedience to him. So our author gives us a couple of questions to look at. The first one's kind of exactly what we've talked about here. When has God called you to do something that you didn't quite understand? Has there been a time where God's called you to do something and you're like, man, I don't know what you're doing, God, but okay. Think about that time, maybe write about that time, kind of reminisce and think through when that time was that God called you to do something that you didn't understand. And then our second question, why is obedience to God always important? Why is it always important? And I'll tell you, my belief is that the reason why obedience is always important is the foundation of ministry, the foundation of missions. It begins with obedience. If we're not obedient to his call, if we're not obedient to his mission, we'll never accomplish that mission. Church family, so I hope that you will kind of think through that for yourself. Maybe look at ways and places that God's calling you to do missions, that God's calling you to serve and do ministry and to be a part of the church and the mission of the church that maybe you don't understand, or maybe you're scared, maybe you're not ready to jump in because of that. I hope that you'll think through those things, pray through those things. And as you're doing that, I want you to know that we love you.